Ethan lived his life like a chameleon, constantly changing colors to blend in with If his friends wanted to go to a party, he'd go, even if he craved a quiet night in. If his parents suggested a career path, he'd nod and agree, burying his own dreams of being a writer deep inside. He was the king of compromise, the master of nodding along, the ultimate people-pleaser. His own desires were like whispers in a hurricane, easily drowned out by the roar of everyone else's expectations. One Tuesday, a day no different from any other, Ethan's boss, Mr. Henderson, dropped a massive project on his desk at 4:55 p.m. "Ethan, my boy," he boomed, "I need this done by morning. I know I can count on you." Inside, Ethan's stomach twisted. He had planned a rare, precious ticket to see his favorite author speak. He'd been looking forward to it for months. The word no formed on his lips, a foreign and uncomfortable shape. He saw the expectant look on Mr. Henderson's face, the assumption that he would, of course, say yes. And just like that, the no evaporated. "Of course, Mr. Henderson. No problem at all." As he sat at his desk late into the night, the city lights twinkling outside his window, the empty chair at the author event haunted him. He wasn't just missing a talk, he was missing a piece of himself. The resentment tasted bitter. Why was it so hard to say no? Why did the thought of disappointing someone else feel like a physical weight on his chest? He was a ship without a rudder, tossed about by the waves of other people's wants and needs. The next morning, sleep-deprived and fueled by lukewarm coffee, Ethan delivered the project. Mr. Henderson barely glanced at it before tossing it onto a pile. "Good work, Ethan," he said dismissively. "That was it." All that sacrifice for a casual, forgettable compliment. The emptiness in Ethan's chest grew into a cavern. Something had to change. That weekend, Ethan decided to conduct an experiment. His sister, Clara, called, "Hey, E, we're all going hiking tomorrow. You're coming, right? It's gonna be epic." Ethan hated hiking. He hated the bugs, the sweat, the relentless uphill climbs. His automatic "sure, sounds fun" was already forming. He took a deep breath. "Actually, Clara," he said, his voice a little shaky, "I'm not really feeling up for a hike. I was planning on spending the day writing. But you guys have an amazing time." Silence. A long, terrifying silence. Ethan braced himself for the guilt trip, the disappointment. But then Clara just said, "Oh, okay. No worries. Maybe next time. Let me know how the writing goes." And she hung up. Ethan stared at his phone. The world hadn't ended. His sister didn't hate him. It was liberating. This small victory felt monumental. It was the first brick laid in the foundation of his new self. He started small. He declined a lunch invitation to a restaurant he disliked, suggesting an alternative. He told his friends he'd rather watch a movie at home than go to a crowded club. Each no was a quiet rebellion, a reclaiming of his own time and energy. It was scary at first. He felt selfish, even rude. He was so used to seeing himself through the lens of other people as approval that his own reflection felt blurry and unfamiliar. The biggest test came a few weeks later. His parents invited him over for their traditional Sunday dinner. "We need to talk about your future, son," his dad said over the phone, his voice laced with that familiar, well-meaning authority. "We've been looking into some great master's programs in business for you." Ethan's heart sank. This was the moment he'd been dreading his whole life. The dream of being a writer felt fragile, a soap bubble about to be popped by their sensible, practical plans. He walked into his parents' house that Sunday, his palms sweating. He sat at the dining table, the smell of roast chicken filling the air, and listened as they laid out his entire future. They had brochures. They had statistics on job placement. They had everything except an understanding of who he really was. When they finished, they looked at him, smiling, expecting the usual compliance. Ethan took a deep breath, the memory of that tiny no to his sister giving him strength. "Mom, Dad," he began, his voice steadier than he expected, "I appreciate you doing all this. I know you want what's best for me." He paused, gathering his courage. "But A business degree isn't for me. I want to be a writer." The silence, this time, was heavier, thicker. His mother's smile faltered, his father's brow furrowed. "A writer?" His dad said, the words sounding like a strange, foreign object. "Ethy, that's not a career. It's a hobby. You can't make a living from that." The old Ethan would have folded. He would have apologized, agreed, and tucked his dream away forever. But the new Ethan, the one who was learning to listen to the whisper inside, held his ground. "Maybe," he said calmly, "but it's what I love. It's what makes me feel alive. I've spent my whole life doing what I thought everyone else wanted me to do, and I'm not happy. I need to try this. For me. For me." He explained his plan. He would keep his job to support himself, but he would dedicate his evenings and weekends to writing. He would take workshops. He would submit his stories. He wasn't asking for their permission, just their understanding. It wasn't an easy conversation. There were arguments, expressions of concern, and moments of doubt. But for the first time, Ethan didn't back down. He wasn't being defiant. He was being honest. Leaving his parents' house that evening, Ethan felt a mix of terror and exhilaration. He hadn't won them over completely, but he had stood up for himself. He had given his own voice a microphone, and it turned out it had something important to say. The weeks that followed were a transformation. He started a blog, sharing his stories and his journey of shedding the people-pleaser skin. To his surprise, people responded. They left comments saying, "I feel the same way, and your story inspired me to say no today." He found a community, not of people he was trying to impress, but of people who understood him. He learned that setting boundaries didn't make him a bad person. It made him a whole person. He learned that not everyone would like his decisions, and that was okay. The people who truly mattered, like Clara, who started asking to read his drafts, stuck around. His relationship with his parents became more honest, built on mutual respect rather than silent compliance. They saw his dedication, his passion, and slowly, their skepticism began to soften. One evening, about a year later, Ethan sat at his desk, the city lights twinkling outside his window. Once again, he wasn't working on a last-minute project for his boss. He was putting the finishing touches on his first novel. He had finally stopped being a chameleon. He wasn't blending in anymore. He was standing out in his own true colors, and the view was more beautiful than he ever could have imagined. He had found his voice, and he was finally ready to let the world hear it. Thank you for watching. If this story resonated with you, don't forget to like and subscribe for more content.